So last time, we kind of poked at this really interesting, maybe a little uncomfortable question about our beliefs. Well, today, we're taking it a step further. It's not just about what we believe anymore, it's about how those beliefs literally become, well, us, how they shape our very identity. So yeah, let's dive in. All right, so let's just put the big question right out there on the table. Did you choose your beliefs? Or did you kind of just inherit them? You know, like your last name or the first language you ever spoke. It's a huge question, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Because here's the thing, a belief rarely stays just as an idea, right? It doesn't just hang out in your brain. It morphs into something else. It becomes a label, a box people put you in, a name you're given, and this often happens long before you even have a chance to figure out what it all means. And that's what we're focusing on, that wild transformation from a simple thought into a core part of someone's identity. And this whole process, it starts way, way earlier than you might think. We're talking before we can even really form complex thoughts. We get handed these labels, these identities, long before we have the mental tools to actually sit down and think, wait a minute, what does this even mean to me? And if you look at them, you'll see how these labels are almost always bundled together. You get your nationality, you get your language, your culture, and bam, right there in the same package is a belief system. It's not presented like, hey, here's some information, go figure out what you think. No, it's handed to us as a starting point. It's part of the default settings. And this is where things get really interesting. This is the crucial shift. Belief stops being about what's going on inside your head, what you think, and it becomes about who you are on the outside. It's this massive change from a private internal process to a public external label. And you know what? That is the exact moment when questioning it starts to feel, well, dangerous. And this right here perfectly captures the tension that builds up inside of us. The whole conversation we have with ourselves starts to change. It's no longer a simple, curious question like, is this true? Instead, it gets replaced by this much heavier, much scarier question, what's going to happen to me, to my family, my friends, my whole community, if I stop believing this? And let me tell you, that shift from truth to fear is just so powerful. It completely hijacks the conversation. It's no longer about a search for what's real. Suddenly, it's all about the fear of loss, the fear of losing your community, maybe losing a part of yourself, losing that feeling of belonging. Now, this fear we're talking about, it's not just in your head. It's not just a feeling. It gets reinforced by very real pressures from the people around you. And the price for asking the wrong questions can be incredibly high. It can literally cost you your place in the group. And honestly, that's why so many of us, at some point, just learn to stay quiet. But here's the thing. This isn't some kind of weakness. It's just human. We are fundamentally wired to belong. We're social animals, right? We need community. We thrive when we have shared meaning and some kind of structure. And guess what? Belief systems are fantastic at providing all of those things. And that pull is incredibly powerful. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? Here's the catch. When belonging to that group requires everyone to be in total agreement, you have to make a trade-off. Your own curiosity has to take a back seat. You have to conform. So questions don't get asked. Doubts don't get spoken out loud. And it's not because people aren't smart. It's because they're afraid of being pushed out. They're afraid of being alone. And we learn to be afraid of some very specific things. We're afraid of disapproval, of starting a conflict, of being totally misunderstood. Or worse, getting slapped with a label like lost or rebellious. You see it happen to someone else who steps out of line, right? You feel that wave of disapproval from the group. And you learn really fast that it is just so much easier and a whole lot safer to just keep your mouth shut. Okay, let's just take a breath for a second. I want to try a little thought experiment with you. This isn't a test. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just a chance for a little bit of quiet, honest reflection. So here's the question, and I mean really think about it for a second. If every single thing about how you grew up was different, your parents, the country you were born in, all the customs and traditions around you, do you honestly think your deepest beliefs would be exactly the same as they are right now? I think for most of us, if we're being really honest, the answer is probably no. And that thought leads us to this really important idea that our beliefs are context-shaped. Now, admitting this doesn't make your beliefs weaker. Not at all. In fact, it does the opposite. It humanizes them. It means your belief isn't just some abstract floating idea of truth, it's tied to a human story. It's tied to your story in your specific context. It's a reminder that, just like every other person on this planet, we're a product of our time and place. And wow, that realization alone can bring about a pretty powerful sense of humility, can't it? Okay, so where does this all leave us? What's the big takeaway here? Look, the point of this isn't to tell you to throw out your identity or abandon your beliefs. Not at all. It's just about creating a little bit of breathing room, just enough space for some honest-to-goodness self-reflection. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with today. What if? What if you could just gently separate who you are from what you believe? Just a little bit. Not to tear it all down, but just to be able to look at it with fresh eyes. Create just enough room to allow for real honesty without that crippling fear that your whole world is going to come crashing down. What do you think you might find in that little bit of space?